What is going on, everybody? Welcome in, folks, to the latest edition of Player Profiler today, airing live on this fine Wednesday, June the 12th. I'm your host, Grindberg, senior analyst for the Player Profiler News Desk. It's my pleasure to guide you through today's show and the top stories and insights right here every Wednesday. So without further ado, let's dive straight into the action with our headline story. Let's start this show off with the Bengals minicamp update. So let's get this show going with that. So the Cincinnati Bengals, led by star quarterback Joe Burrow, are embarking on a crucial offseason ahead of the 2024 NFL campaign. Burrow's recent update on his wrist injury, albeit slightly ambiguous, suggests optimism about his readiness by the start of the season. However, concerns linger regarding his health, especially considering the impacts of the injuries on the Bengals' performance in previous seasons. Burrow's potential value in fantasy football circles hinges on the health and in performance. The 2023 season was a challenging one for Joe Burrow, marked by a slow start due to a calf injury sustained in training camp, followed by a season-ending wrist injury in Week 11. Despite these setbacks, Burrow showcased his elite potential during a mid-season surge, demonstrating his ability to produce when healthy. In assessing Burrow's fantasy outlook for 2024, statistical analysts reveal that both positive and concerns. Past success, including top 7 fantasy finishes in previous seasons, suggest his capability to bounce back if he maintains good health. However, concerns arise regarding his lack of rushing production, which is vital for elite fantasy quarterbacks in this modern NFL, and we all know that. Nevertheless, Burrow's rapport with his receiving core, particularly Jamar Chase and T. Higgins, presents an opportunity for fantasy managers. The departure of Joe Mixon indicates the Bengals' continued reliance on the passing game, enhancing Burrow's fantasy potential. While not a top priority, Burrow represents a value that is just right for the picking for fantasy managers willing to capitalize on his potential resurgence. Stackable options with Chase and Higgins further enhance his appeal in fantasy drafts. Overall, Burrow's statistical profile suggests cautious optimism for his fantasy value this upcoming season. We're going to talk a little bit more about some of his weapons and some uncertainties because we have some holding out happening on the T. Higgins front. Jamar Chase, recent return to the Bengals mandatory minicamp, as reported by the NFL insider Ian Rappaport, marks a notable shift in his offseason stance. Previously absent, seeking a new contract, Chase's decision to join the team, it signals his commitment to participating in these crucial team activities, despite potential fines in either, earlier in the absence. This could potentially be a good thing for him. We're looking at a big resurgence heading on here, and you never know what could happen with these Bengals. While Chase's return is a positive development for the Bengals, the team is still awaiting wide receiver T. Higgins' decision regarding his franchise tag. This situation allows for continuous negotiations between Higgins and the team until mid-July. In the realm of fantasy football, Chase's return to the Bengals lineup for 2024 season holds a lot of promise for both the team and fantasy managers alike. Despite not quite meeting fantasy managers' high expectations last year, Chase retains his potential wide receiver 1 candidacy with a healthy Joe Burrow at quarterback and potential offensive improvements under the new coordinator. Chase is poised to reclaim his status as a top-tier fantasy asset. Despite a slight dip in production last season, he still delivered wide receiver 1 numbers, finishing as the wide receiver 11 in fantasy scoring, and that was with numerous quarterbacks throwing the ball. As his target share is expected to increase, especially in 2024, the absence of T. Higgins could potentially explode Jamar Chase's fantasy value. His upside makes him a valuable asset in dynasty leagues and fantasy leagues all around. While he might not command the same draft position as some of his peers like Jamar Chase and CeeDee Lamb, Chase's immense fantasy value gives him a worthy target, and particularly later half of the first round. So fantasy managers should consider Chase as a potential game changer. He is capable of big things. We saw it in his rookie season, and I just think this is the year he can and shall emerge in that offense further with some supporting cast there with Joe Burrow, a healthy season here. Now let's move on to the T. Higgins situation, and here's the deal with T. Higgins and the Bengals. He has been a no-show at their mandatory minicamp because he hasn't signed his franchise tender yet. This creates a bit of a problem for the team, especially since other key players have either extended their contracts or have been traded. With Higgins MIA and the possibility of his teammate Jamar Chase holding out to the Bengals offense is in a bit of a pickle right now after losing Tyler Boyd to free agency. Lots going on there. Let's talk about T. Higgins' numbers, and it's been a bit rough lately, especially in 2023. He was dealing with injuries. Sure, he had some impressive stats like a 15.6 yards per reception average and a hefty 37% target air share. His overall production took a big hit last year. He hit career lows in both receptions, yards, and touchdowns. Not great, especially compared to his previous seasons. He just was not consistent. But hey, don't count him out just yet. Despite the bumps in the road, Higgins is still young, just 25. He has shown flashes of brilliance. In fact, last season, he set personal bests of average depth of target, yards per catch, and touchdown rate. So there's definitely hope for a comeback. Sure, there have been ups and downs when you look at T. Higgins, but there's a lot of optimism still there and about his future, especially in fantasy leagues. So the bottom line is Higgins might have hit a rough patch, but there's still got a lot of potential if you're looking to beef up your fantasy team. He's definitely someone worth considering, especially with so much uncertainty there with his contract and his situation. He could be a value if you scoop him up and somebody's looking at having somebody a little bit more stable in their lineup with a more clear path to targets. So T. Higgins. Now let's talk about one more wide receiver for the Bengals, and that's Jermaine Burton, the rookie wide receiver for the Bengals. Caused a lot of stir during the NFL draft when he was unexpectedly slipped to the third round. Despite this, Burton himself brushed off concerns about the draft position and expressed excitement about joining the Bengals. And I mean, who wouldn't when you're being paired up and collaborating with a guy like Joe Burrow? Burton's presence in the Bengals offense gains attention, particularly with notable absences like we talked about Jamar Chase, T. Higgins in the voluntary OTAs. His selection in the third round is seen as a potential boom for the team, providing the depth and impact. Looking at his college stats, Burton's performance at Alabama showcases his potential as a dynamic playmaker. He led the team in receiving yards for consecutive seasons and boasting an impressive touchdown numbers. Burton brings speed, athleticism, and reliability enhanced to the field, despite concerns about his character and route running consistency. However, Burton faces a stiff competition. We know how crowded that receiving core is. We talked about Jamar Chase. We talked about T. Higgins. The veteran Trenton Irwin is vying for snaps and must prove himself for playing time. So nonetheless, if given the chance, his skill set suggests he could emerge as a top wide receiver in the NFL. And in the realm of fantasy football, his draft position and potential role in the Bengals offense is generating a lot of buzz. While he may face initial challenges due to the presence of established wide receivers, Burton's sleeper potential and his opportunity to step up in the absence of Tyler Boyd, with Burrow leading the charge, Burton's fantasy value could soar, especially if Higgins' contract situation impacts his availability. So in summary, Jermaine Burton's journey from an unexpected draft position to a potential impact player for the Bengals. It highlights his unpredictable nature of the NFL. While these obstacles remain, Burton's statistical prowess and on-field talent suggest he could be a valuable asset for fantasy managers, particularly in dynasty leagues as the 2024 season approaches. Fantasy managers will be keeping their eye closely on the development of Jermaine Burton, and I urge you to do the same thing because he's a guy that is someone worth keeping your eye on here in the future, and that's Jermaine Burton. So let's get a little information here from the Podfather himself and the FFPC, and seeing what is new happening in FFPC world. Let's hear from the Podfather.
Hey, why do we partner with the FFPC? Because they have the widest variety of fantasy football formats, and it's the easiest place to find all types of fantasy football contests in the world. What if you want to play for high stakes? Well, they have a $6 million prize pool with their Fantasy Players Championship. They also have way too early best ball leagues that start in February and dynasty leagues. They have the closest thing to a liquid market for orphans that there is in all of Dynasty. And the FFPC has sponsored us for half a decade because we are actually delivering information that can help fantasy gamers, and they're generating so much interest and bringing in so many new users, casual users even. The FFPC creates a unique experience where you can both compete against the best and make money. Use promo code UNDERWORLD to get $25 off your first team. $25 off your first team at the FFPC with promo code UNDERWORLD. Go get it!
Let's go get it. Yes, FFPC, it's where it's at. And, so where it's at is at these mini camps that just started this weekend. And something to monitor here. So we're going to dig deep into some news that happened and is going on involving in these mini camps. And I'm going to go over some notable offensive situations, some teams here that have some news that happened this week. And we're going to start with Atlanta Falcons, and that's Kirk Cousins' rehabilitation. It seems to be progressing well, as evidenced by his participation in the OTAs despite undergoing Achilles injury 8 months ago. Typically, teams exercise caution with injured players during this time, but Cousins' involvement suggests that the club is relatively optimistic about his recovery and potential for avoiding any setbacks. While it remains to be seen how much Cousins will participate in minicamp and reps he takes in Zach Robinson's offense are significant, this is especially true considering that Cousins is adapting to a very new system under first-time NFL play caller. Observing how Robinson's schemes compares or differs from Sean McVay's under this new coach, Cousins will be very much under the microscope and will provide valuable insights into the team's offensive direction. So Cousins already being around the team, participating a little bit in OTAs is a very much of a positive sign, especially for those that are investing in their playmakers that are going to be surrounding him, like the Bijan Robinsons. And we've heard Raheem Morris steam him up already this week. So another situation to keep your eye on there. We know that Bijan's got all the talent, but he just needs that opportunity. And from what I'm hearing right now, it's looking really good for a huge season upcoming for Bijan Robinson. Now let's move on to the New England Patriots, and Drake Maye's absence as the number 2 spot during recent OTAs has sparked speculation about his potential to challenge Jacoby Brissett for the starting job. Despite offensive coordinator Andy Van Pelt's assertion that Brissett remains the starter, reports in Foxborough indicate that Maye has been making significant strides in earning praise from his teammates, while Brissett currently holds the top spot on the depth chart. A strong showing from Maye during minicamp could force coaches to reassess the quarterback situation headed into training camp. In the past, we've witnessed young quarterbacks rapidly develop and ultimately challenge veteran incumbents for starting roles, prompting teams to reconsider their initial plans. establishing a solid foundation during minicamp could help bolster the narrative that Maye is ready for increased responsibility as the teams transitions into the summer months. As Maye continues to impress and showcase his potential, the competition at the quarterback position, the New England Patriots, it is going to be poised to intensify, with Maye emerging as a compelling contender for the starting job. We all know a lot is at stake there in New England. Do they want to jump in and give Drake Maye the bulk of the horns right away? We're not too sure. It's could be after bye week. It could be right away. So those of you that are invested in Drake Maye should be looking at these mini camps, these OTAs, as an indicator on how well he's progressing in camp. Moving on to the Arizona Cardinals, and the connection between Kyler Murray and Marvin Harrison appears to be gaining traction as they work together during these offseason activities. In today's NFL, wide receivers often make an impact, especially rookie ones, with several surpassing the 1,400-yard mark in recent seasons. We've seen Puka Nacua do it. We've seen Jamar Chase. We've seen Justin Jefferson have all archived notable successes in their rookie season, setting high standards for these incoming rookies. Considering this trend, Marvin Harrison enters the NFL with potential to receive a significant number of targets from Kyler Murray, who has a history of heavily involving his top receivers. Establishing chemistry with Murray and Harrison during the offseason is crucial for the success when the regular season kicks off. By building a strong connection early on, Murray and Harrison can hit the ground running and be ready to make an impact week one. As they continue to develop their rapport, there is optimism that their collaboration will lead to productive results on the field. We all know that Kyler Murray has been a force in the past. He needs that weapon. I think this is an upgrade for them. I love the way that Trey McBride fit into the Cardinals offense, especially in the latter half of last year where he was commanding such an important target share. I still think that he's going to be a top target in that offense. And I just think that Marvin Harrison is just going to add another depth. And I think they're going to be scoring a lot more in 2024 than they were in 2023. So let's move on to the Buffalo Bills, and they have faced significant changes at the wide receiver position this offseason with the departure of Stephon Diggs and Gabe Davis. As they navigate through the offseason program, the team's wide receiver depth chart is still taking shape with several intriguing options vying for roles. We know that Keon Coleman appears poised to assume a prominent role within that receiving core, but beyond that, Coleman, and there are uncertainties regarding who will step up to fill that depth chart. Khalil Shakir is expected to see significant playing time, offering versatility and reliability to that offense. However, beyond these two players, the picture becomes less clear. The Bills added several players to the receiving core, including Curtis Samuel, Marquez Valdez-Scantling, Mac Hollins, Chase Claypool, who is randomly getting a lot of praise from Josh Allen as of late, KJ Hamler, and Justin Shorter. Each bring unique skills and attributes to the table, creating a healthy competition for roster spots and playing time. As this minicamp progresses, it should provide insight into how the competition is going to shape up and which players are going to stand out. This evaluation will be crucial as the team approaches training camp and where the final decisions regarding their wide receiver room are going to fall. Interesting situation. I'm going to be cautiously heading into these drafts with these Buffalo wide receivers. It's going to be tough to pinpoint which one is going to emerge, and we're going to have to really, really keep an eye on for that, because someone's going to emerge there, and they're going to be getting some high value targets and target shares and red zone looks in that high powered Buffalo Bills offense. So we're going to see that progress as this season goes on and as this off season gets into heavier minicamp stuff here. Moving on to the Carolina Panthers, and Xavier Legette first-round draft pick, has encountered a mere minor setback during the OTAs due to a hamstring injury. While soft tissue injuries like this are not uncommon for rookies transitioning from the draft preparation to go to full-fledged sporting activities, the extent of Legette's absence is a potential impact on his integration into the team's system. The Panthers have undergone significant changes in their wide receiver core with the additions of Deontay Johnson and Adam Thielen providing depth at veteran leadership and experience. Legette's ability to develop chemistry with Bryce Young during this offseason could be pivotal for his transition to the NFL. So these hamstring injuries, if not managed properly, can linger and disrupt his offseason preparation, potentially affecting his performance during the regular season. So therefore, it's essential for Legette to recover quickly and fully to ensure that he can participate fully when training camp starts and build a rapport with his teammates. As the offseason progresses, monitoring Legette's recovery and participation in the team's activities will be crucial in assessing his readiness for this upcoming season. The Panthers will rely on his potential to contribute significantly and reworked that wide receiver group. That remains the top priority, ensuring that Bryce Young is going to be surrounded by weapons that are going to make him succeed. And we all know that Dave Canales has made a couple of quarterbacks very significant in the last couple of years, notably Geno Smith and Baker Mayfield. Those guys have been very, very, it put their careers back on the map. And potentially he could be the quarterback whisperer. If he can go 3 for 3 here, he could be a guy that somebody's looking at. So like Bryce Young could be a sneaky value in these fantasy drafts. Let's buck into the Cleveland Browns, and Deshaun Watson's offseason with the Browns has generated some familiar chatter reminiscent of previous years. Despite coming off a season-ending injury, reports suggest that the team is pleased with Watson's physical condition and anticipates a rebound performance from their star quarterback. This optimism is particularly significant for the Browns, who have been waiting for Watson to live up to those lofty expectations after an underwhelming 2 seasons with the club. Watson's integration into the Browns' offensive scheme under new coordinator Ken Dorsey is a storyline to watch. The chemistry between Watson and standout wide receiver Jerry Jeudy will also be crucial to the team's success. Browns fans have been demonstrated patience since Watson's arrival and are eagerly awaiting a return from the former Pro Bowler that he once was. And as the training camp approaches, all eyes will be on Watson's performance and the Dorsey system. Let's see what happens there. I'm loving what Amari Cooper can do with a competent quarterback under center, and hopefully Deshaun Watson can elevate his game to bring these wide receivers and this offensive team into a more noteworthy situation than they were last year under his tutelage. So let's go on to the Broncos, and Courtland Sutton's announcement that he will report to minicamp appears to put an end to the speculation about a potential holdout. However, the question of resolving his desire for a new contract remains unanswered. Sutton is set to earn $13 million base salary this season and $13.5 million next. He is seeking another big payday. When you consider what he did last year, he scored 10 touchdowns. That was a big number, and I think that's well worth the $13 million price tag raise that he's looking for. While Sutton's desire for a new contract is understandable, given the booming market for top-tier wide receivers, the Broncos may be hesitant to meet these demands. Whether they entertain a trade offer for Sutton could hinge on various factors, including the development of receiving options like youngster Marvin Mims, who they moved up in 2023 in the draft to get, rookie Troy Franklin, who slipped to them, Josh Reynolds, Tim Patrick. These are all guys that you should be looking at, and Sutton's willingness to report to minicamp suggests that he may not be inclined to disrupt the team's activities in his quest for a long-term deal. However, the Broncos must weigh their potential distraction on ongoing contract negotiations against their efforts to integrate, their new quarterback, Bo Nix, who is predominantly youthful, and he has got a youthful wide receiver core. Ultimately, this resolution of the Sutton's contract and any trade speculation will depend on how the Broncos view their long-term plans and their receiving core. So a couple notable situations, and we're going to still moving on to the Green Bay Packers. Now, Josh Jacobs' health has been a topic of concern, with the running backs missing the first few weeks of OTAs due to this hamstring injury. However, his return to the field for the second set of workouts indicates a positive development, suggesting that the injury may not be a lingering problem. The Green Bay Packers are relying on Jacobs to assume a significant role in that offense previously held by Aaron Jones. Last season, the Packers offense functioned more effectively with a reliable threat out of the backfield, highlighting the importance of Jacobs' potential contributions. However, if Jacobs were to encounter another injury or a setback, it could provide a huge opportunity for Marshawn Lloyd to step into a larger role with that offense. As the Packers prepare for minicamp and beyond, monitoring Jacobs' health will be crucial to their offensive plans, especially considering the importance of having a dynamic presence in the running game. The Kansas City Chiefs are currently looking for their new left tackle, and it's a competition between Wanya Morris and Kingsley Suamatia, who was just a draft pick. That's going to be an interesting situation to monitor. Who is going to keep Patrick Mahomes up healthy this season out of that pocket? So more news into that conference. We're talking about the Las Vegas Raiders, and the quarterback competition in Las Vegas between Aiden O'Connell and Gardner Minshew may not be the most glamorous, but it is intriguing. Coach AP has been vocal about his admiration for Aiden O'Connell's skill, and since taking over, they signed Gardner Minshew, with adds an experienced person there who can manage a game clock. One factor to consider is how each quarterback fits into this offensive scheme devised by Luke Getsy. As the offensive progresses, both players will receive more reps and gain an understanding with this offense. So we are looking at a new situation, a new regime in Las Vegas, and I'm excited to see what goes on there. Moving on to the Seattle Seahawks, and Ryan Grubb's new offense in Seattle is going to be an intriguing storyline headed into this upcoming season. While we won't get the complete picture during minicamp, there are some key elements to watch. The Seahawks boast one of the best wide receiving trios in the league, led by DK Metcalf, Jackson Smith-Njigba, and Tyler Lockett. JSN in particular is expected to see an expanded role in this offense, showcasing on why he was a first-round talent last year. As the new offensive coordinator emerges across the NFL, Grubb's system stands out as one of the most intriguing to monitor. His ability to blend a dynamic passing concepts with innovative run designs could shape the Seahawks offensive identity and impact this upcoming season. Jaden Daniels' progression in Cliff Kingsbury's offensive system is a focal point for the Commanders as they prepare for this upcoming season. While the team hasn't officially named Daniels the starter, it's clear that Marcus Mariota's role is more of a mentorship than a direct competition. Given Daniels' status and presumptive starter, his essentially the Commanders to maximize his opportunities during minicamp. At 23, Daniels brings potential and all faces in the game. He has got an elite rushing upside. His 55 career starts under his belt and has experience, but transitioning to the NFL presents its own challenges. Ultimately, the Commanders' commitment to providing Daniels with ample opportunities immense himself in a new system during these mini camps will be instrumental in his development and readiness to lead the team this upcoming season. He's getting rave reviews already by veteran wide receiver Terry McLaurin, saying he's going to be finding him in every spot, and I'm looking forward to seeing that. relationship build as the offseason progresses. He's a guy I got my eye on is Terry McLaurin having a resurgent year. And then we'll hit up one more team before we end this show. And that is the Pittsburgh Steelers. And with George Pickens emerging as the likely wide receiver one for the Steelers, their focus now shifts on who will step up in their wide receiving core as their wide receiver two, with Deontay Johnson leaving the field for greener pastures in Carolina. With the quarterback competition between Russell Wilson and Justin Field has grabbed attention, it is now another situation to monitor. Who is going to be that wide receiver alongside George Pickens? Van Jefferson, Roman Wilson appear to be the top contenders. With minicamp underway, training camp on the horizon, the battle for that wide receiver two role will intensify. It remains to be seen whether Pittsburgh will add a legitimate wide receiver two option to start the season. But for now, the competition among their existing candidates promises to be pretty fierce. And I think that it's going to be very tight between Quez Watkins, Cordero Patterson, Calvin Austin. But my guess is that Roman Wilson is going to come in there and take that spot right off the hop. So that is going to be it for today for the show. We've come to an end of another thrilling episode of Player Profiler today. I'm your host, Grindberg, bringing you the freshest updates every Wednesday. Stick around as we continue to dig deep into the world of Player Profiler for exclusive content and even more updates. Follow me on X at FF Canuck. Thanks for hanging out with us today. Remember, tomorrow, Bradley Stalder is taking over the Thursday night slot, so mark your calendars. From the entire team here at Player Profiler, we hope you have an epic night. See you tomorrow again for the show.
Hey, I want to take a moment to thank you for tuning in. It's important to me that all of our media be free. This is only possible because of you allowing a true independent sports media enterprise to thrive unlike any other in the business. So please subscribe to the All In package to continue to make all of this possible, to ensure that all of our stats, information, data, content is available to you, especially you, the people that get the site and get the show.